Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a Donald Trump health breaking news update. I seem to be doing these and it's not really what I want to be doing my videos on, but it is super important. And it does appear that there's new evidence to suggest, or not to suggest, but actually to potentially confirm or validate the theory that Trump has had mini strokes or something similar, right? When he had that week off where he went AWOL, and there were these health theories and the idea that he could have had a fall, could have had this wrong, that wrong, whatever. A chap called Adam Cochran came up with a really good thread of all the evidence pointing to he had TIA strokes, possibly leading towards a larger stroke. And that would explain why he's on a certain regimen of pills, and that would explain a load of data points, and that would explain all sorts of things. And I actually read that thread to you because I thought it was the most plausible and well documented thread of his of the data that was out. And you got bruising on the back of the hands that happens sort of once a month. He's definitely getting infusions of something or whatever, there was definitely a health scare that had taken place in that week. And he came back and said, nothing to see here. What you're worrying about is just away for a couple of days. No, you weren't. It was the best part of 7 days you were away from. And there was no press. You were supposedly going to play golf, but there were no press allowed at the golf courses. Then Melania Trump was seen at this facility, and it was closed around that facility, and then the roads were closed around the White House. Something was going on, right? And then today, it's all over the internet again, because he's just been to the 9/11 commemoration, and he has got serious side mouth drop or side mouth droop. And I just tried to do this myself, and I can't make my mouth with my muscles do that. That has to be a lack of muscle. And that is something you get. Some people are saying, oh, it's because he's falling asleep. No. He wasn't actually. He's moving around. We'll see in the video in a second. That is a mouth droop that you only see really that significantly if you've got a health scare. So the side mouth drop is a key sign of transient ischemic attack, TIA, known as a warning stroke. The symptoms, remembered with the FAST acronym, appear suddenly and require immediate emergency attention. You must call 112 or 999 immediately to ask for an ambulance if you blah, 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 blah. So warning signs, etc., etc. So that's one of the warning signs. Now, this fits in with the TIA claim from that huge thread I was talking to you about before. Here is someone saying, Trump at the 9/11 Pentagon Memorial Ceremony, what is wrong with his face? Definitely a pronounced drooping on the right side of the face and mouth, typical of a medical condition. Fox News blurred out the back of his right hand, which is covered in makeup. So that was interesting. Fox News acting as his propaganda mouthpiece, it appears. Pun not intended. What happened to Trump's mouth? Here we go again. That is not looking good. And lots of people talking about this, loads of screen grabs. Has Trump had a stroke? Look at his mouth drooping to one side, symptoms of a stroke, face weakness, one side of your face may droop, fall, and it might be hard to smile. So let's have a look at the video here. Elliot Higgins even saying what's wrong with his face, and he's Bellingcat. He's not into conspiracy theories. He's into evidence-based, explanations of data. This is the video from C-SPAN.
Hilda E. Taylor. Lieutenant Colonel Kip P. Taylor, United States Army. Leonard.
So I'm going to mute it there, but you wonder whether it's actually getting worse during the duration of this short clip that we have here. But there's a definite mouth droop there that is, I think, somewhat pronounced, and he doesn't look particularly awake, but that is not a good look there. Somebody has actually enlarged the video, and I think you can see it get more pronounced throughout the length of this as it's drooping more and more down to the left as we look at him. And that at the end or further on, I think is different to earlier on in the video. So that's just one bit of data. Make of it what you will. I'm going to read you Adam Cochran's update to this. He said, at what point are we going to clue in to the president's stroke? And he said this just an hour ago. He is in ailing health, and while duly paying respects to those who lost their lives on 9/11, is barely able to control the right side of his face. And then he links that previous thread. We won't go into all the details there, but you can go and find that. Just look for Adam Cochran on Twitter. Shot after shot shows that when he grimaces or frowns, the right side of his face droops entirely. And here we have a number of screen grabs that seem to suggest that is the case. And also, like, the right hand side of his left, I don't know what you call it, the eye that's on his left now, his right eye, is more open than the other eye, which suggests that whole side of his face is pulling down and pulling his bottom eyelid down as well. And you can see there, that eye is looking different to the eye on the other side. So I would suggest this is a bit of a problem. It wouldn't surprise me if you don't see Trump for a couple of days now. Yesterday, the video he posted had weird AI editing, raising questions on if it was authentic and just had to jump morph cuts, or if they reworked it with AI. I talked about that this morning, and there were claims. I mean, his face does look very taut, I guess, is like he looks pretty good there, right? And there's definitely no drooping. And there was that morph in his hands. It will play out here, where you see his little finger disappears.
Charlie was a patriot.
And when he says patriot, it moves. I don't know if I can get the exact frame here. When he picks up his hand, his finger disappears. His little finger disappears. And then, so that's where it was. And then it comes back down again. You can see it. Other people have done video renditions frame by frame of that. Now, I suggested this morning that was probably from a cut, because it looks like there's a change in the, if we go back again to this, there's a change at the back that some people are saying the trees have changed. Actually, earlier in the video, this is actually the reflection of someone that's videoing behind. The dark patch there, I think, is a reflection of someone behind. You can see it moves. Some people are saying, look, that's weird. But I think this suggests that there was a cut there where the person behind is there and then over there. So I'm not sure that suggests anything to do with the hands, but they may well have, I don't know, given him makeup, and they may well have, I don't know, altered the way his hands look, because they are routinely bruised. Now, anyway, the data says he can't have achieved his current health markers without medications. We'd only see him on post-stroke, and some kind of data there. I'm not quite sure I understand fully what he's talking about there, but this is referencing another thread that he's had. But anyway, cardiologists have publicly agreed with this assessment that these medications indicate post-stroke or post-heart attack treatment options. So he's talking particularly about the drug regimen that he's on that we know about. And one of those is aspirin, that you don't generally take to thin the blood anymore. And that's more suggestive of TIAs and managing that. His voice remained consistent with post-stroke dysarthria. That's rough voice and nasal sound are consistent with post-stroke dysarthria. There continues to be compelling evidence that Trump is recovering from a mild stroke over the past week, and that was written on September the 2nd, and the White House is covering it up. And then he struggled to hold any weight or maintain grip in his right hand, suggested supposedly by this. Yeah, I don't know if that fully suggested that video, but anyway, possibly. He holds things in a loose clutch when using his right hand. That's interesting. That's an odd use of the little finger there, maybe. And he struggles to maintain a straight line when walking or be upright when speaking. And actually, that is true. We saw that. That was part of the data that we were talking about when I last did a video on his health and when we were talking about his TIAs, because this was picked up on by a number of people, but it was kind of jokingly dismissed as, oh, Trump can't walk in a straight line, blah, blah, blah. But actually, it could well be a symptom of these strokes, not to mention the bruised hands, which can be a rapid injection site for clot-busting medications during a TIA or stroke, or the uniform leg edema indicating CCB medications. So there's been a lot of talk about his thick ankles, which, you know, the data's there. That is a thing, to the point where the White House had to come out and say, well, actually, he's got this cardiovascular issue that is, you know, low. It's not anything to worry about, but we are looking over him, etc., etc. But the bruised hands as well are certainly something that needs explaining. So the White House have tried to explain away his ankles and some of the other data points, but many are saying that they find that unconvincing. People make the mistake of thinking TIAs and strokes always mean severe visible damage and poor recovery. The reality is the long-term damage beyond the first week of recovery depends on the time to intervention. Having 24/7 medical staff changes the outcome. But we are seeing physical features on the president that align again and again and again with having had a stroke. We see health indicators that don't match his current medications, but do match post-stroke medications. We are repeatedly seeing a man who tried to convince the world that for a week he just didn't want to talk to reporters and was in great health while walking around like this. And of course, he had hugely swollen face there. There were all sorts of claims around those images and that week. The White House is continuing to hide details about the president's health because they know that Vance does not have the same level of hold over the base and Congress. And so we lack clarity on if the president can safely manage his duties. Remember, you know, when Biden was president and the Republicans go absolutely insane about stuff like this, about Biden's health, but actually I think there are justified concerns about Trump's health. If the president has had a stroke, it is not just concerns of vascular dementia or function we need to worry about. It's national security risk. If the president could at any time be at risk from even just additional stress or another TIA or ischemic attack. I've covered this for weeks and been called a conspiracy nut for it, but every bit of evidence we see continues to align. The White House must disclose the president's health and medications fully, because how else can we conclude anything but a stroke? So lots of and he's put in a freedom of information request over his medication, by the way. I don't think that anything will happen on that. But, you know, there are huge amounts of data points that do need explaining. And of course, what we aren't doing is looking through his previous very extensive threads, one of which I went through in the last video. But I would suggest that something definitely is happening here, that Trump's mouth and indeed possibly the entire side of his face there on the left is drooping. And that is not something that you can do. That is a lack of muscle, a lack of muscle activity there that allows that to just droop. You can't make that happen. What is it informing the behavior of his face there? What is determining that? And something has to be determining that, and it does fit in with all the other data points we've discussed previously. So I would suggest that Trump does have ailing health, does have health conditions that do need explaining by the White House, because he is one of the most important people in the world, and you would expect that. You would expect to get decent updates. So you expect there to be transparency on his health if he does have really serious health conditions, in exactly the same way people demanded of Biden when he was president. So I don't really like doing these kind of sensationalist videos, but 100%, I look at that and 100% something is up. There is absolutely no doubt there. And there, you know, I'm sorry, that needs explaining. It absolutely does. The crease in his cheek, the side of his mouth drooping right down there, it needs explaining. So anyway, let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you soon.